You are watching No Filter with Debbie. These are my views and opinions. Welcome to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and you know what's driving me crazy? Merrick Garland. This guy is going to be, most likely, our next Attorney General, Joe Biden's Attorney General. This is also the man that Barack Obama nominated to the United States Supreme Court. He did not get confirmed because the Republicans had enough votes to wait until the next president. And the next president was Donald Trump. Tough patooties, Democrats. And of course, then they used that against the Republicans when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. But it really had nothing to do with whether it was too close to the end of the term or not. It had to do with the Republicans had the votes at that time and the Democrats didn't. Well, now the Democrats have the votes and they are probably going to confirm Merrick Garland. But before they do, they've had these hearings that have been going on for the last 2 days now, his confirmation hearings, and some of the things he has said are not just beyond troubling, they're ridiculous. And I want you to take a look at them. So he said he was going to have his focus on domestic terrorists and extremists, which means he's going to focus on right wingers and conservatives and not on left wingers and Muslims. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't far right threats to America. There are. We saw some of that at the Capitol during the riots. We also saw some Antifa people at the Capitol during the riots. We showed you footage of them. We also told you about one of the people, a person by the name of Grimes, who Leslie Grimes, aka Logan Grimes, who was caught with weapons, who was from Black Lives Matter, who was arrested but not prosecuted, even though he had clips of bullets ideal for rapid feeding into guns or other artillery. So we know that the far right is a threat. We also know that the far left is a threat, probably much more. In fact, we've seen much more in the past year, and it's still going on every night. And we will show you some video in a few minutes. But the fact is, they have been rioting in cities across America. They've been blocking highways and roads, which is a danger. It is a public health hazard. What if somebody's in an ambulance and it's life or death and every second counts? Are they going to get to the hospital when Black Lives Matter is blocking the road? No, they aren't. And they're going to die. And people have died because Black Lives Matter and Antifa have shot people. They've killed people. Some of them, by the way, have been black. So this was their way of showing their support for George Floyd and showing that Black Lives matter to them, but they in fact don't matter very much at all. In fact, no lives matter to them. Not just Black lives, but all lives don't matter to them. So Merrick Garland doesn't seem to think they're a problem. And he cited his family perishing in the Holocaust. And as you know, if you're a regular viewer of this show, my family perished in the Holocaust on both sides. Most of my late father of blessed memory's family, and my mother's family perished in the Holocaust. They were murdered, wiped out by the Nazis. Very few relatives on either side survived. My mother's parents, my maternal grandparents, were Holocaust survivors. They were in the camps, and they are lucky that they survived. And the fact that I exist is really like winning the lottery, at least for me. Maybe not for you if you're one of the haters, but for me, it's winning the lottery. The chances were that slim. So many things had to happen for my grandparents to survive and to meet. And my mother was born in Bergen-Belsen camp after the war. So I think I have the same platform to stand on as Merrick Garland. And you know what? I think that he is very myopic. I think that he is very obtuse in his thinking when he is only looking at domestic extremists. And what he means by that, again, is not domestic Muslim extremists who, let's face it, they blew up the Boston Marathon. They shot up the San Bernardino Christmas party. They shot up Fort Hood. I said the Boston Marathon. They tried to shoot up Fort Dix. There was the Fort Dix 6 that really was the Fort Dix 10. They tried to bomb other marathons in New York, military marathons. They did 9/11. They shot up a gay club in Florida, the Pulse nightclub, and on and on and on. Those are just some of the terrorist attacks I can remember off the top of my head. Those were domestic terrorists, but he's not referring to them. When somebody says domestic terrorists, they don't mean Islamic ones. They mean anybody on the right or far right. And they don't just mean neo Nazis. Believe me, being a Jewish American and being somebody that considers herself to be not of the far right, I'm in the center right. I am very bothered by neo Nazis. I find them to be a growing threat on the right. They are troubling to me. But still, what they mean by that is they don't just mean the neo Nazis. They mean people like me, people who are conservative. They mean 74 million people, or however many still feel that they supported President Trump. Those people are all to them domestic terrorists. And if you think I'm exaggerating, think again, because that's how they believe. All you have to do is look at social media. Liberals call any conservatives and any Trump supporters neo Nazis. They call for us to be basically ideologically cleansed from the universe and canceled away from everything. Just look and you will see. Look what happened to Senator Josh Hawley. Look what happened to Ted Cruz over this way overblown trip to Cancun. It's just ridiculous. This should have been maybe a 2 hour, maybe at most, at best, a 1 day story, and it's still going on. There was not this much fuss when Governor Gavin Newsom of California went to the French Laundry, a fancy restaurant, and violated his own orders. A restaurant was open. Most restaurants were required to be closed. He was eating indoors. Most restaurants that were open had to have outdoor dining, and most of them were not even allowed to have that. He wasn't socially distanced. He wasn't wearing a mask. There was, compared to the outrage over Ted Cruz, very little, a lot less. So there's that. Now, I want you to take a look, first of all, at this video of Senator Kennedy, I believe of Louisiana, who is questioning Merrick Garland and asking him about his position with regard to trans athletes, male to female, competing against female athletes. And we have talked with Representative Ben Koppelman in North Dakota about his bill about trans athletes. That is moving forward in the North Dakota legislature. Look what Merrick Garland has to say about it.
In my last 20 seconds, I'm going to ask you if you agree with this statement. Allowing, and I'm not suggesting the answer one way or the other, I just want to know what you believe. Allowing biological males to compete in an all-female sport deprives women of the opportunity to participate fully and fairly in sports and is fundamentally unfair to female athletes.
This is a very difficult societal question that you're asking here. I know what underlies it.
I know, but you're going to be Attorney General.
Well, but I may not be the one who has to make policy decisions like that, but it's not that I'm adverse to it. Look, I think every human being should be treated with dignity and respect. And that's an overriding sense of my own character, but an overriding sense of what the law requires. The particular question of how Title IX applies in schools is one, and in light of the Bosniak case, which I know you're very familiar with, is something that I would have to look at when I have a chance to do that. I've not had the chance to consider these kinds of issues in my career so far. But I agree that this is a difficult question.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you for not answering the question, Judge. Yes, he's a sitting judge, or was, and he did not answer that question. That's an easy question. Is it fair for biological males to compete against females? It's a very simple question. He says it's a very complicated societal question. Whenever they tell you it's very complicated, it in fact isn't. They just don't want to give you an answer. That's a very snooty, arrogant, highbrow way of saying it's not so complicated, but I'm not going to answer you. And he answered for like more than a minute without actually answering. This is a very important question because if you're not a high school athlete or a parent of one, or a college athlete or a parent of one, this is not going to matter to you. But if you have a child or a niece or a nephew or a grandson, granddaughter, friend's kid, this is important. Joe Biden made an executive order about trans that may require that girls compete against male to female trans. It's not fair. We know that they have a male advantage. They still have male chromosomes, they still have male DNA, and they still are stronger no matter how many female hormones they take. They're still men, they're still boys, and it's unfair. It is not a level playing field. He didn't answer that, and it's an important question, and this is going to end up at the Supreme Court. Just watch. And the reason it's important that he answer it is that is he going to represent the United States of America in supporting male to female trans competing against real girls, real women? He probably will because that's what Joe Biden supports. That's what the left supports. It's totally unfair. And I think every parent knows the answer to that question is very, very easy. And I'm not a parent, but I know it's very easy. All right, when we come back, we will have more video of some of the crazy things that Merrick Garland has said. You won't believe what he said about what delineates what is a terrorist and what isn't. It's very scary. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your number one choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality. Did you know the Foundation for Rural Service awards scholarships for rural students? The scholarships range from $2,500 to $7,000. Go to www.frs.org for information and applications.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather, like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after a fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So, before the break, we were talking about the Merrick Garland confirmation hearings and some of the things he has said that are troubling. Now we'll get to some of the things that he said that are troubling and also absurd. All right, so first, Joe Biden, as you know, has changed, or if you've been following the show, you should know, he has changed immigration policy radically on day one of his administration. And within the first month, he's made it even worse. So basically now, and I showed you the text messages from my friends in ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and they said that basically they are not allowed to round up any criminals anymore. The only people they're allowed to round up are murderers and terrorists, and that's it. And even then, it's kind of iffy. So not only are they not allowed to round up criminals, which why wouldn't you? If you or I had a warrant for our arrest and we were criminals, wouldn't we be picked up? Hell yeah. We would be thrown in jail and we would get arraigned and we would face a judge, and the judge would decide whether or not we're a good risk to get bond, to get bailed out. They might just keep us in jail, but not these people. Somebody who's been deported repeatedly, they're not necessarily arrested. In fact, in most cases, they're not arrested under the new Biden policy. I was going to say Obama's policy. It's basically the same thing, only worse. And as I told you, President Trump had this policy where if you wanted to claim asylum, we know that many of these people claiming asylum, they are rehearsed, they're coached on what to say, they're not persecuted, they don't live up to the standard that is required to have refugee status, to get asylum, which is you have to have a credible threat to life or limb on the basis of something like your religion or your involvement in helping uncover and expose criminals, or because you are of a certain ethnicity or something like that. And the fact is that most of these people have none of that, but they pretend and they make up stories. And we have no way in most cases of verifying any of this. It's really whether or not they're a very good actor or not, or actress, and that the immigration judge believes them. And what happens is they come into this country, they file for asylum, they get what's called a notice to appear. Most ICE agents I know call it a notice to disappear because they never show up. And this is now, in many cases, they don't get their hearing till like 5 years later. And in the meantime, they're in the midst of America, they're working, they're taking U.S. jobs, they're driving down wages, they're a suck on the general welfare system. Their kids are in the public schools, crowding things out. For example, in LA County, we know that their cost is something like between $6 and $18 billion. Billion. And I'm not exaggerating. And also we know that they are really a tremendous burden on other public services and so on. And they're getting Obamacare and all of that. So Donald Trump fixed all of that. He said, if you're in this country, if you want to seek asylum in this country, wait in Mexico or another country and apply from there. And you know what that did? That cut down a number of a lot of people applying because it's much harder. They can't just seep into the country and disappear and live off the fat of the land and of the taxpayers. Well, Joe Biden reversed that, and now 25,000 plus immigrants, almost 26,000, have been let in. Illegal aliens pretending that they're persecuted and aggrieved and that they should get asylum. So Merrick Garland was asked about the illegal alien situation, and here's what he had to say.
Do you believe that illegal entry at America's border should remain a crime?
Well, I haven't thought about that question. I just haven't thought about that question. I think the president has made clear that we are a country with the borders and with the concern about national security. I don't know of a proposal to decriminalize but still make it unlawful to enter. I just don't know the answer to that question. I haven't thought about it.
Will you continue to prosecute unlawful border crossings?
Well, this is again a question of allocation of resources. We will, the department will prevent unlawful crossing. I don't know. I have to admit, I just don't know exactly what the conditions are.
I don't know, no. I don't understand. Please. This guy, hemming and hawing. I haven't thought about this question. Please. He's thought about the question. He's a federal judge and has been for years. He's faced illegal aliens before his courtroom. They have been adjudged by him. They have been. He's just lying to them and to you, the American people, you, the people of North Dakota. He knows what he's talking about, and he's trying not to answer the question. And basically, his answers tell you everything, his non-answers, which is that he is not going to enforce the law. And he is not going to allocate resources. He said it's a question of allocating resources. Huh? We have Homeland Security. We have ICE. All right, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They are the immigration cops. We have Customs and Border Protection. They are also the immigration cops. We also have the Executive Office of Immigration Review. Those are the immigration judges. And guess which department they're in? His, if he gets confirmed. They are in the Justice Department. They're not an independent body. They're not independent courts. They're part of the justice system. And President Trump wanted 5,000 more immigration judges. Joe Biden's not going to do that. And he's not going to push for immigration judges to be replaced when they retire. This is a bad situation. So he does not believe that if people sneak into the country, they should be prosecuted. And that jives with Joe Biden's new policy. Don't arrest them. Don't do anything. So basically now our borders are wide open. We are not a sieve. A sieve would be, some people would get in, others would not. We're just wide open. We're the Grand Canyon. That is very, very troubling. All right, when we come back, we'll tell you what he says about terrorists. And again, this is very, very scary because how he delineates terrorists, it just boggles the mind. That and more after these messages. On No Filter with Debbie on back.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Beck Communications is hiring. Beck Communications is seeking qualified candidates for plant technicians in our Wheatland, North Dakota location. Beck Communications is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
If you're a Beck Fiber customer or the dependent of a Beck Fiber customer, you might qualify for scholarships. Beck awards scholarships to seniors headed to college or to students attending University of Mary. Go to www.beck.coop for eligibility guidelines and applications.
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Did you know the Foundation for Rural Service awards scholarships for rural students? The scholarships range from $2,500 to $7,000. Go to www.frs.org for information and applications.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So before the break, we were talking about the confirmation hearings for Merrick Garland, who may be and probably will be our next Attorney General of the United States. Some of the things he's saying, he's not answering the questions, but some of the things he's saying when not answering the questions are the answers, and they're very frightening. Even more frightening than the frightening is what boggles the mind and just defies credulity. So he was asked about his definitions of terrorism, and we've shown you videos of what's been going on all around the country with Antifa and with Black Lives Matter, and look what he has to say about that.
Let me ask you about assaults on federal property in places other than Washington, D.C., Portland, for instance, Seattle. Do you regard assaults on federal courthouses or other federal property as acts of domestic extremism, domestic terrorism?
Well, Senator, my own definition, which is about the same as the statutory definition, is a use of violence or threats of violence in an attempt to disrupt democratic processes. So an attack on a courthouse while in operation, trying to prevent judges from actually deciding cases, that plainly is domestic extremism, domestic terrorism. An attack simply on government property at night or any other kind of circumstances is a clear crime and a serious one and should be punished. I don't know enough about the facts of the example you're talking about, but that's where I draw the line. One is both are criminal, but one is a core attack on our democratic institutions.
I get it. So if the 9/11 hijackers had attacked at night, then it would just be a crime and not terrorism. And you know what? The Pulse nightclub, that attack was at night. So that's just a crime. It's not terrorism, even though it was done by an extremist Muslim who was attacking the bar because he's Muslim and they're gay, and being gay is against Islam. We see what Muslims do around the world for gays. Many of them have been executed just in this year alone, in the couple of months of this year in Iran. We know that Gaza, Hamas, the Palestinians, they throw gays off buildings. We know they're executed in Saudi Arabia. We know that in Egypt, stuff like this happens when they had a gay cruise off the coast of Egypt. So we know these things happen. But you know what? If these things happen in America at the Pulse nightclub, it's a nightclub. It operates at night, so it can't be terrorism. Are you serious? Really? So if not only the 9/11 hijackers, but let's say the Tsarnaev brothers attacked some kind of race, there are some kind of sports that go on at night all the time. There are even marathons that are in the dark. So if that happens, then it's not terrorism because it's at night. And an attack on a courthouse, if it's not an operation and it's at night, well, then it's not terrorism. Are you serious? This is ridiculous. So, attention, ghost of bin Laden. Please, attention, heed his statements. If you and your descendants who are taking over for you want to attack America and not get charged with terrorism under Joe Biden, this is what you do. And of course, I'm not calling for terrorist attacks on America. I abhor and condemn all terrorist attacks on America, all of them. I'm not asking anybody to do that. They should all be condemned, whether it's an attack on the Capitol, as there was on January 6th, or whether it's the Tsarnaev brothers or the 9/11 hijackers. But basically, that's what he's saying. He's saying, terrorists, please take note. Bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, please take note. I'm the Attorney General, and if you do it at night or a courthouse is not in operation, it's not terrorism. He's also saying to Antifa, if it's not on a court not on a court while in operation. If it's something else and it's at night, or it's federal property while at night, no biggie. So all of those Capitol rioters, they should have attacked the Capitol at night. And under his definition, they would not have been terrorists. It would just have been a crime. Are you serious? Come on. Come on. Now, we have some video to show you. And apparently, only half of it he considers to be terrorism. And maybe not even that half. So first, take a look at this attack on the ICE headquarters in Portland.
You guys are f***ing up the flow of traffic. What's wrong with you?
So the Antifa rioters, the Antifa activists, the far left, they set fire to ICE's headquarters, and that was in Portland, Oregon. All right, so it looks like it's becoming dark. The street lights are on, people's headlights are on. It looks like it's at night, but it's still almost daylight. So I don't know with Merrick Garland's definition whether or not that would constitute terrorism, because they might not be in operation when the fire was set. Now, anybody with a right mind, anybody with any common sense would say, yes, that is terrorism. When you have a left-wing group that is attacking immigration and customs enforcement, they're doing so for a reason. They are terrorists. Their target is a government entity that enforces immigration law, which they don't want to happen. They want chaos. They want anarchy. They want our borders wide open. That's terrorism. That's the very textbook definition, but he doesn't know. He's not sure. I mean, all these questions he was asked, and, you know, Senator Kennedy and Senator Hawley, I salute them. They did a great job. They asked great probing questions, and he did not answer them. So there's that. Now look at these riots. This is in Flatbush, New York. Look what they did to this person. Look at this. All right, so you just saw that video. That looks also like it's in twilight in New York. So that's, the lights are all on. It looks like it's getting dark. And that is Antifa / Black Lives Matter beating a guy with what looks like a baseball bat. And by the way, that is very disturbing that all those people are walking by, just looking, not doing anything. That is very disturbing. But that's what's going on in America, figuratively and in that video, literally. People see this stuff and they're not rising up and calling the police and helping people. Some people are, but very few. It's very troubling. But even more troubling is that he doesn't think that's a big deal, that these Black Lives Matter and Antifa activists are beating people on the streets, beating them senseless, and it's not terrorism. It absolutely is. They have an agenda, and they're doing this to get that agenda. Just like when they block the streets, block the highways, destroy and loot businesses, that is terrorism. It's got an agenda. It's got a reason. And unfortunately, we have an upcoming attorney general, an impending attorney general, who doesn't see it, doesn't get it. And he gets it. You know that. He just doesn't want to say, because that will disappoint his overlords on the left, including their vessel, Joe Biden, and the real president, Kamala Harris. It's very, very disturbing. All right, when we come back, Joe Biden actually admitted to terrorism. And I am not sure what Merrick Garland would have to say about that, but we have the video after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Back.
Howdy folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bussin' Breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Yeah, shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Did you know the Foundation for Rural Service awards scholarships for rural students? The scholarships range from $2,500 to $7,000. Go to www.frs.org for information and applications. If you're a Beck Fiber customer or the dependent of a Beck Fiber customer, you might qualify for scholarships. Beck awards scholarships to seniors headed to college or to students attending University of Mary. Go to www.beck.co for eligibility guidelines and applications.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So before the break, we showed you all kinds of video of Merrick Garland not answering questions, having weird definitions of what is terrorism and what isn't. And, you know, a lot of that was in the context of the Capitol riots versus all the violence that's still going on. We just showed you 2 videos from today and yesterday, or yesterday and the day before. And it's still happening, all these riots. And those riots are from the left, from Black Lives Matter and Antifa, 2 allies. And sometimes they are interchangeable or work together and are indistinguishable. So Joe Biden himself actually admitted that he was involved in an insurrection in the Capitol. Take a look at this video.
I found myself in the chamber and I was stunned. I walked up, sat down, the presiding officer's seat. Guy grabbed me by the shoulder, said, "You're under arrest." Literally 9 years later, as I walked onto the Senate floor through the same door, that same guy, cop, said to me, "Senator, you remember me?" And I said, "Geez, I don't." He said, "I arrested you 9 years ago."
Wow. How about
he
that?
Said, "Welcome back."
Yeah, welcome back.
See, he was arrested for trespassing in the Capitol, sitting in the Senate chambers where he wasn't supposed to be, was arrested, illegal. So is he a terrorist? I'm not sure. Yes, I know it's a little different than the people who rioted the Capitol. They broke down fences. They tried to crush this one police officer between doors. Another police officer died, although it is unclear now why he died. His family is now saying it was because of a stroke, and there is an autopsy that appears to show that, and not from being hit over the head with a fire extinguisher, as was previously reported. Some people did die because of things that happened during the Capitol riots. They had nooses, they had flex ties and handcuffs. They were going to try and kill Mike Pence, hang him. No reason why you would have a noose and gallows out there and say that they were looking for Mike Pence. We all knew what the reason was. No other reason. So that's a lot different, but still, a lot of these people were arrested and they are being prosecuted, and the maximum extent of the law of the penalties are being sought against them, and they've been charged strenuously. What happened to Joe Biden? Nothing. He was never even charged. Nothing happened to him, and he's admitting he did the same thing. Where's the outrage? Why haven't you seen this video before this show? I guarantee you haven't. Most of you anyway. Why? I mean, this is a big deal. I do think it's a big deal. You are not allowed to trespass in courthouses or on the Capitol. Yes, it's the people's house, but you're not allowed to do that. Yes, it's the people's Senate. You're not allowed to do that. Why hasn't anything been done to him? Why hasn't he been impeached? I mean, if you're allowed to be impeached for that kind of behavior, which Donald Trump didn't do, he did it. He's admitted to it. He's a hypocrite. They're all hypocrites. And yes, I do think the people who did what they did in the Capitol should be prosecuted. But I think Joe Biden should have been prosecuted for that. And he got away with it. Why? Because he's a liberal Democrat? Yes, that's why. There is a double standard of justice, not only for liberal Democrats, but also illegal aliens, minorities, criminals, and everybody else who is not an old white male. If you're an old white male, and in many cases an old white female, good luck to you, because there ain't no breaks for you. No affirmative action, no minority set-asides, and no Democratic senator opportunities to invade the Capitol before you were a senator and get the charges dropped against you. Joe Biden was never prosecuted for that. All right, so there's that. Now, we showed you Merrick Garland's hearings, but what we didn't show you was this picture that now is being made a fuss over. Apparently, Senator Hawley pointed, and this is a big deal according to Michael Beschloss. Michael Beschloss is often referred to as the presidential historian. What he really is a liberal who hates all Republican presidents, from Nixon to Reagan to Donald Trump. He's not a historian. He's a liberal activist parading as a historian. So he thinks that Senator Hawley was pointing menacingly, I'm tongue-tied today, pointing menacingly at witnesses. Why is a U.S. Senator, what U.S. Senator in history has done that? Well, we'll show you, because we've got at least 4 U.S. Senators we have pictures of pointing. Look at that. Our current president, Joe Biden, pointing. Cory Booker of New Jersey pointing. Our current vice president, Kamala, she's really the president, let's be honest. And Horan Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas, or as I call her, 1024th Ahontas. Yep, they all pointed. Michael Beschloss, the so-called presidential historian. When in U.S. history has a senator menacingly pointed? Well, we showed you 4 moments, and I'm sure there's plenty more. And you did not send out a tweet calling them menaces or menacing, because you're a hypocrite and a fraud and a liberal. So whenever you see this Michael Beschloss, remember, that's what he's all about. One-sided, biased, not to be trusted or believed. Only telling you half the story, or in his case, probably a fraction of a percent of the story. Now, speaking of Joe Biden and liberals, we told you about Dr. Rachel Levine, who was really Dr. Richard Levine. He had a sex change. I don't know if it was the full Monty, if he had the complete reassignment surgery. She, I think he did. He used to be the health secretary or the surgeon general or what have you of Pennsylvania. He took his mother out of the nursing home and then to save her from COVID, and then shoved everybody else in the nursing homes to die. So he's a serial killer a la Governor Cuomo of New York. And now he's Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services. Well, we want to show you some video because he thinks that you, the taxpayers, should pay for sex changes for kids, that kids should have sex changes. Look at this.
So what if you're a transgender teenager? So what if you remember puberty? Wasn't that fun? Wasn't that a lot of fun? So what if you're going through the wrong puberty? What if you're a transgender young woman, meaning male to female, and now you're getting, your voice is dropping, you're getting bigger, you're getting hair everywhere, and you're growing those tentacles, And what if you're a transgender young man, and now you have breast development and periods? It can be terrifying. There's a lot of mental health issues during that time. The previous treatment, before these new guidelines came about, that's when you're 18 and have a nice life. Basically, there was no medical treatment for individuals that were under 18. So there are new guidelines. So these are the new guidelines that are very well accepted by healthcare professionals. They're international guidelines, and most children's hospitals will be doing for pre-pubertal children. There is no medical treatment. Well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, they're pre-pubertal, so they don't really have clinical levels of sex hormones. So what medical treatment? So the idea would be to see a counselor or a therapist who is supportive, who has knowledge about these issues. To you could some see me medically, and depending on their age, come see me in a year or two. But there's nothing medical. First phase, at the young adolescent age, is to give what are called a pubertal block. You give a medicine to block the progression and start low doses. You gradually increase, so that they never go through the wrong puberty. That way, for a transgender woman, male to female, voice doesn't drop, they don't have hair, they don't have electrolysis. For a transgender man, they don't have breast development that will need surgery, they don't have periods, etc. So you block puberty, and then you can, at the appropriate time, send them through the puberty consistent with their gender identity. If they're under 18 and they're not an emancipated minor, meaning if they're under 18 and they are on the street or they're completely emancipated from their parents, then you can do treatment. This little boy was great. He said, puberty was awful. My body changed from what I wanted. I grew hair and tentacles. And I went, Johnny, you grew tentacles. You mean testicles? And he went, oh, yeah, testicles. I was like,
she knows how to pronounce, she knows how to pronounce the word testicles. Yeah, so you saw that's what she wants, and we have a little graphic about her supporting sex changes for kids, children. And she says, a new study has found that transgender youth with access to a puberty blocker have decline in chances of suicide. Plus, mental health problems now and in the future. The study is important because it's the first to show the specific association, which is why it's not to be trusted. Usually, you have to have many studies that show something. You can't rely on one study. It's probably an aberration. But number two, these are kids. So she wants to block puberty. So these kids can't even know what it's like to really be fully a man or a woman. They're too young to decide, to make these life-changing decisions that can never be reversed, to cut off their genitals or to add breasts or to reconstruct their genitals. Kids are too young to do this. This is crazy. This is insane. And this person is Assistant Secretary of Health under Joe Biden. God help us. Oh, my God. All right, when we come back, North Dakota is raising the gas tax by 3 cents. But I'll tell you why this is so disgusting and ridiculous. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, the delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So things are very bad. As we all know, the economy is not doing well. North Dakota is not an exception. And we know that the Dakota Access Pipeline is in danger. Joe Biden could try and yank the permit. He's already trying to yank the permit. He already yanked it for the Keystone XL pipeline. And he yanked permits for, he said no to exploration for oil and gas on public lands, which violates the Federal Leasing Act. So, on top of that, the North Dakota legislature now has approved a 3-cent tax increase. 3-cent increase in taxes on every gallon of gas. That's ridiculous. You know what? The price of gas now is the highest it's been since 2019. So before the pandemic. Yes, before the lockdowns, it's an average now in both North Dakota and nationally, $2.64. And in North Dakota, there's already a 23-cent per gallon gas tax. Now you're going to be paying 26 cents tax per gallon. That's ridiculous. That's more of a tax than you would pay sales tax on anything else. And why are they doing this? They're saying, and this passed the House by a vote of 62 to 32, which is outrageous. This means a lot of Republicans voted for this because the North Dakota legislature in the House, it's 81 Republicans to 13 Democrats. So a lot of Republicans voted for this. Our friend Ben Koppelman voted against this. We've had him on the show before. He's a true conservative. Listen, they say they need this for infrastructure. If they do, cut other things in the budget. Cut some of the fat. This is not the time, or ever the time, basically, to tax people 26 cents a gallon. It's ridiculous. Cut some of your wasteful spending. There is money thrown around like it's candy at the North Dakota legislature. This is outrageous. I'm very disappointed. And by the way, the sponsor of this was Vicki Steiner of Dickinson, a Republican. And she said, oh, we need this for infrastructure to keep our roads and bridges up to date. Sure, North Dakota does need to be competitive, and it does need to have roads and bridges that people in the state and visiting from outside or running businesses and coming to help on the pipeline, that they can drive on and drive over and so on. Yes, that's important, but make room in the budget for that. Don't raise taxes. Stop your spending. Cut the fat and use that money for this. This is outrageous. No to new taxes. And now, especially, is not the time. You know, I'm just very, very disappointed in many of these Republicans that voted for this. Without the Republican support, this tax would not pass. And this is the problem with the Republicans. Many times they say they're against taxes and spending, but really they are just Democrat light and they vote for more spending and taxes. All right, now, there is more math racism apparently. We told you yesterday about how apparently math is racist because kids are required to show their work and get the right answer. We can't have that. That's white racism against black people and other minorities. Well, now there is more. Check out this tweet. All right, so this is equitablemath.org, and this is from a tweet I saw today. This is from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the organization that they sponsor that says that math is racist. So look at this. They're saying white supremacy culture shows up in math classrooms when the focus is on getting the right answer. You can't get the right answer. You have to focus instead on choosing problems that have complex, competing, or multiple answers and engage with true problem solving. Huh? What is true problem solving? I think it's showing your work and getting the right answer. But what do I know? I only graduated from high school. I only graduated from college. I only did well on my math exams. But what do I know? 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 anymore as long as I'm engaging in a discussion. One last thing, Tiger Woods in a horrible car accident today, as you may have heard. There were 11 airbags in his Gemini SUV he was riding in. And I have a couple of questions. Number one, were he and the other people in the car wearing masks? And also, were they social distancing? Those are the important questions, right? Remember, things are not always as they seem. See you tomorrow.